All right, let's talk about what might just be the world's most unusual bank. I mean, imagine a bank with no employees, no vaults, and yet it holds billions of dollars in assets. We're talking about Aave.
So really, take a second to picture this. A global bank that's open 24/7. It has no CEO, no board of directors, and yet it safely handles billions of dollars in transactions every single day. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? Well, guess what? It's the real deal, and it's the protocol we're digging into today.
And that protocol is Aave. Now, the name actually means ghost in Finnish, which is just perfect, because it's this transparent, totally open financial system that operates without any of the usual middlemen. Why? Well, because it's not a company. It's just code, a really powerful set of smart contracts running on the blockchain.
Okay, so to really get what makes Aave so special, we've got to go back a bit. We need to understand the big problem it was built to solve. And it all comes down to fixing a massive flaw in the very first attempts at crypto lending. See, Aave's predecessor was a thing called ETH-Lend, and it was a peer-to-peer system. If you wanted a loan, you had to literally find another person willing to agree to your terms. It was slow, it was clunky, a total headache. Aave's genius was just scrapping that entire model. Instead, they introduced what we call liquidity pools. So now instead of matching individual people, Aave just pulls everyone's capital together. And this was an absolute game changer.
So how do you actually use it to earn money? Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. Step 1, you deposit some crypto. Let's say it's the stablecoin USDC into its designated pool. In return, the protocol hands you back this digital IOU. It's called an A token. In this case, you'd get AUSDC. But here's the cool part. This A token isn't just sitting there. It's a productive asset that's actually growing in value, right there in your wallet, in real time, as borrowers pay interest back into that pool.
But look, Aave is so much more than just a simple place to lend and borrow. It's a highly advanced financial engine with features you will absolutely not find in any traditional bank.
And that brings us to one of DeFi's most, mind-bending innovations, flash loans. Just imagine this, borrowing millions of dollars with absolutely zero collateral. Now, what's the catch? The loan only exists for a few seconds. It has to be borrowed and then repaid within the exact same blockchain transaction. If the borrower can't pay it back by the end of that single transaction, the whole thing just reverses itself like it never even happened. For the Aave protocol, that makes it a completely risk-free loan.
Okay, so what on earth can you do with millions of dollars for just a couple of seconds? Well, developers use these for some really powerful strategies. Things like arbitrage, buying an asset cheap on one exchange and instantly selling it for more on another. They're also used for really complex stuff, like instantly swapping out your collateral from one crypto to another. It's a fundamental building block for the entire DeFi world. Another key innovation is something called E-mode, or high-efficiency mode. See, normally you can only borrow a certain percentage of what you put up as collateral. But with E-mode, if you deposit a stablecoin like DAI, the protocol lets you borrow up to 97% of its value in another very similar stablecoin, like USDC. This feature totally supercharges your capital efficiency, letting you make your money work way, way harder with very little extra risk. And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about here, just look at the numbers. Aave routinely secures billions of dollars in what's called total value locked, or TVL. That's how much money users have trusted to the protocol's code. This isn't some small side experiment. This thing is a cornerstone of the entire digital economy.
But Aave is not sitting still. Not at all. It's constantly evolving, and it's already got its sights set on the next frontier of finance, one that's more efficient, more flexible, and way more connected to the global economy.
So the next huge evolution is called Aave v4, and it's a total rethink of the architecture. The main idea is this new hub and spoke model. Think of it like this. There's going to be one massive central liquidity hub for the main assets, which means tons of liquidity and stability. And then, branching off from that hub, anyone can launch their own specialized lending markets, or spokes, for all kinds of different assets.
But maybe the most revolutionary idea in V4 is something called the risk premium. Right now, if you and I both borrow USDC, we pay the same interest rate, no matter what collateral we used. V4 is going to change that. It introduces a system where your borrowing rate is directly tied to how risky your collateral is. So if you use a super high-quality asset like ETH as your collateral, you'll actually get a better interest rate. This makes the whole system fairer and honestly a lot more stable.
Aave is also looking way beyond just the crypto world.
Its strategy for what we call real-world assets, or RWAs, is all about bringing traditional finance onto the blockchain. By creating markets for tokenized things like real estate loans or even business invoices, Aave is literally building a bridge from DeFi to the trillions of dollars that are currently locked up in the traditional financial system.
And, this really gets to the very heart of Aave's mission. Like its founder, Stani Kulichov, has said, the whole point of all this complicated tech, it's not the tech itself. It's about building access. It's about tearing down financial walls and making these incredibly powerful tools available to anyone, anywhere in the world.
So when you put all of these pieces together, it becomes really clear that Aave isn't just another crypto app. It's a protocol that is actively reshaping our very definition of what a bank is, and maybe more importantly, who gets to play in the global financial system.
Of course, Aave isn't operating in a bubble. It's facing some pretty intense competition, especially from newer protocols like Morpho. You can think of it like this. If Aave is building an all-in-one bank, then Morpho is building the bank infrastructure, a much more modular approach that lets other people build their own lending markets on top of its foundation. And that model challenges Aave by really prioritizing flexibility and raw efficiency.
So Aave's response to this pressure is this really powerful dual strategy. It's basically fighting a war on two fronts. On one side, it's going deeper into DeFi innovation with V4 to stay ahead of its crypto-native competitors like Morpho. And on the other side, it's expanding outward, building those bridges to traditional finance with RWAs to try and capture a much, much larger market.
So what does this all mean? Where does this leave us? Well, Aave has already proven that a global automated bank that's run entirely by code isn't just some theory anymore. It exists, it works, and it's growing every day. The question is no longer if something like this is possible. The real question now is, how is this new financial infrastructure going to fundamentally reshape money, banking, and access for every single one of us?